All right. Good morning, everyone. This is the after party after show. I am suspecting that I probably didn't put in the link to the to the show. That's what I'm thinking. I am thinking that in all the craziness that has been going on in the last, this is the beauty of running a live show, by the way, without a producer and just doing everything on my own. I am suspecting that perhaps I didn't do the thing that I was supposed to do. And that's how people know, oh, I did put the link in. All right, so maybe no one's here. Maybe no one loves me. That's okay. I'm used to that. What's up, Oz? So here's the policy, right? When no one else shares the after party after show with me, I talk into the void for 10 minutes. And if no one shows up, I just leave. Oh, Knock. Knock's going to save me. What's up, brother?
I can let you be here all by yourself.
Well, I can't. I mean, running my mouth, I seem to be not bad at.
Oh yeah. You do a good job.
Oh, thank you, sir. Not as good as you. I don't think I can rage as rage. I don't think I can do that. Like I have like little moments of anger, but I don't think I can. I can't brand myself. I mean, it's very difficult to be angry with this luxurious hat on too. I just
Yeah, that's true. My anger gets me in trouble. I despise myself sometimes. I hate that I get so triggered so easily sometimes.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But at the same time, people love it. I don't know.
Yep, I could see that. I don't know if people like me when I am angry, when I have the angers, or when I'm just being happy and silly. To tell you the truth, my mother's voice in my head tells me they just don't like me at all.
Mm. Yeah, exactly. That's kind of me too.
Right. And this is definitely not any kind of compensation whatsoever for that.
Yeah. I've realized, I'm gonna have to like just start over. I'm gonna focus on politics, but you live and you learn. I'm still gonna do the Raging Atheist, but to make this a serious thing that worth my time, I gotta start something new. No cursing, no getting mad.
Well, yeah. And we're going to talk inside baseball about, I guess, content creators. But yeah, you can see that I've been experimenting about how I do stuff on this channel. This show is an example of that. And to tell you the truth, I do the show because I love the show. I love interacting with people. And but I throw out the shorts. I made another short over the weekend, which is like a 14-second short, which I'm not unhappy about. Because you never know when something's going to go viral and bring in new listeners, new viewers. And I actually started streaming on Twitter too, because StreamYard allows you to stream onto Twitter, which I didn't realize because I'm an idiot. And so I streamed the first show on Twitter as well as Facebook and on YouTube this morning.
That's interesting. I didn't know about the Twitter thing. That's pretty cool.
Neither but all the kids, and and I swear to my fictitious God, and the more I see of people my age or older, right, the more I realize I just keep thinking about that Bob Dylan quote from back in the day about not trusting anyone over 30, which I know doesn't look good for me, right? But tell me if I'm wrong. Is it the people who are like our age? A lot of us are just kind of, wrong about a lot of things.
I actually agree. That's kind of been my experience. The older I get, the grumpier I get, and but I do think I tried to be honest and fair with people, as honest and fair as I can be. But yeah, I don't see that a lot from too many people anymore.
Yeah. Like, dude, I was at in Oz. You can jump in at any time, brother. But I guess you must have.
Yeah, what's up, Oz?
Yeah.
What up, though?
What up? So I went to see John Waters perform. John Waters, the director, the filmmaker, over a week ago, and he was complaining about woke culture and about Greta Thunberg, and I'm like, really? This is This is from the icon of the gay community from like back in the day, and now he's complaining about the kids, and I'm like, ah, another fucking disappointment.
Yeah, I don't understand the backlash against woke culture. It's almost like you're not a racist. What's wrong with you?
And it's so many liberals take the bait, right? So many
Yeah. Oh
liberals,
yeah.
they're like, are you an old white guy? And even if you're a liberal, then you're still an old white guy. How about you just start complaining about the kids? And it's so fucking predictable, right? Back in the day, when I was coming up, when I was in high school and in college, you know, the Xers were getting shit from the boomers and from the so-called greatest generation for being a bunch of losers. And then I'm seeing the same thing play out for especially the millennials and now the Zers, right? It's just
Mhm.
you don't have to shit on younger people just because you do not agree with them or do not understand what they're saying.
Well, and it's the same thing they said about us when we were teenagers. You know what I'm saying? It's the same exact thing that they said about us when we were teenagers.
It gives me the angers, Rage. It gives me
Yeah.
the angers.
Yeah, I think this generation, I mean, the kid. All right, so I have one nephew who's in high school. Great kid, put together, doesn't make any of the mistakes that we made as children. You know, like finishing school. His brother finished school, going to college, getting married, doing the things that we as in my generation, even though most of us got our shit together at some point throughout our lives, it wasn't at 18, 19, 20 years old. And the kids that I know, at least, that's how they are. They're really well put together. I'm not saying that there's not kids out there that aren't. I'm sure that there's plenty of them, but it just seems
That's an
like,
anecdotal argument. That's an anecdotal
oh yeah,
argument.
exactly.
That's bullshit. That's bullshit.
I know, yeah, I know. It is, it is. But at the same time, it's like, this new generation, they grew up with the technology that we didn't. It's like their brains operate a bit differently than ours, of course, because they grew up in a totally different world than we grew up in.
I'll tell you what isn't an anecdotal argument is the fact that, when you look at the numbers about the challenges that Zers and millennials have faced regarding the workplace or lowered expectations on how well they're going to do financially in life, then just the fact that they are doing as well as they are doing is remarkable. I mean, once again, I'll say it again. I grew up in my dad was the primary breadwinner. He was the only breadwinner. My mom was a church organist, so she got a couple of dollars a week for doing the organ gig. But he worked a union job, had, I think, maybe an associate's degree, worked in the same company for 30 years. He had a pension. We didn't have to worry about health insurance. And it was the middle class lifestyle that a lot of people my age grew up in. And I don't see that happening with people younger than us.
So what are you suggesting are happening, or is happening?
Oh, what I'm suggesting is that basically, and is that ever since the Reagan tax cuts, is that basically what a couple of things have been incentivized: predatory capitalism, as well as that goes hand in hand with theocracy in this country. There is no surprise the fact that religiosity has increased with the rich getting richer, because that's a means of social control. That is a mean of social control, right there.
I saw this fascinating study. I'm going to really look into this. It's a woman. I think she did a CNN interview recently, but I've been reading about the study that she did. She worked for a CIA task force looking at civil war in other countries, and then she turned those diametrics on our country. And it's fascinating because by her study, we're closer to civil war than we have been since probably 1859, or whenever, like right before that pre-Civil War period. But she was talking about democracy in America, and I can't remember the exact word. I think it's called like an meritocracy or something like that. It's like half a democracy, half fascist, right? Like, and she, like, we're there, and we stopped. According to her, and I had to look into this, we stopped being the longest running democracy in January of 2021.
It's there is an international report by the OECD. Someone who's smarter than me in the chat probably knows this. About they rank what states are quote unquote free as against the states who are not quote unquote free, and I'm actually Googling this as I'm saying this, and you have some countries like, let's say, I think Norway counts as a free country, right? While Russia, of course, is a not free country. China, mainland China, is not a free country. And I think that the United States of America went from being considered to be a free country to a not as free, not as bad as Russia, for example.
That's all the data that I've studied suggests that, Andy. Yep.
Yeah.
We're definitely not in that classification of Norway or Switzerland. These truly the places that people do truly have individual freedoms. We are, in my opinion, an oligarchy, but I think definitely trending toward theocracy.
Yeah. So I'm looking at, and it's the OEEC. Oh no, it is the OECD, and about, and of course, and I'm trying to find. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not gonna waste the time while I'm fucking. This is why I need an engineer. Basically, this is why I need a producer. Is someone can punch me the numbers, so when I do the references, I can reference the references.
So if I can ask real quick, because I don't do politics like you guys do, so I appreciate the fact that you do it. So now I can ask questions to you guys. You're more informed than I am. So how does one being a proper skeptic? To me, that sounds those sound like very subjective terms, like free, less free, more free, not free. Like how do we, like, how's that defined? How do we measure that? How do we test that?
As far as I know, and I could be wrong, the main metric is individual happiness. So if you look at Norway, its people, I think it was like 85% of them express happiness in their life. But there's other metrics to it as well. There's law, there's systematical racism, authoritarianship, whatever it be. If you look at America, we've never truly been a democracy. We've strived for it. I think we kind of fool ourselves with that a lot. We strive for it, and what we're kind of experiencing now is this almost rebellion against getting close to actual democracy. And I don't know if you saw the story, Andy, but there's an op-ed out by 3 former generals, I can't remember their name, talking about how we're close to civil war within the military right now. That there's this great fear that a certain segment of the military will refuse Biden's orders and take Trump's. Oh, I got a Facebook call for some reason.
So let me just say that this is from Freedom House, the site freedomhouse.org. And this is just their ranking of free and not free countries. So about the metrics, and you're asking the right questions, Oz, about what are the scalable, how can you measure what is a free country? Because we know that there are obviously factors and characteristics of a free country as against to a non-free country, right? So this is at the top of the website from Freedom House. Freedom House rates people's access to political rights and civil liberties in 210 countries and territories through its annual Freedom in the World report. Individual freedoms, ranging from the right to vote to freedom of expression and equality before the law, can be affected by state or non-state actors. And then you can click on to the name below to access the full country narrative report. As Rage mentioned, that one of the main differences between a free country and a not so free country is that you'll have a rule of law as against what's considered to be the rule of man, right? So instead of having let's look at China, mainland China. You have the president there, Xi. He basically says what he says is law. What he dictates, what the party states is going to be the law. But they do not operate under a rule of law. So it's really just a law of man. While in free societies, in more free societies, the laws constrain individual ambitions. I guess that's a factor right there. And I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that does. So that helps. And then, Rage, what you were saying about happiness, and again, this is me asking because I just don't I don't spend a lot of time looking into this stuff, and I probably should more. But when we talk about happiness, again, that's a very broad word, you know. So when we say happiness, I mean happiness to me could be completely different than happiness to you. So how do
Well,
we?
sure, but the metrics is based on asking the individual, right? So they do these polls. They poll every country, and I can't remember where America is, but we're pretty low. But like then you look at countries like Norway, where the polls come in, and 85% of respondents say that they are happy in their lives, that they feel that they have the freedoms and the economic freedom to be happy in their lives, and most of it is economic freedom. Happiness is a lack of stress, right? So if you are better off economically and financially, studies show that there's less stress in your life, so you are more happy.
Now, if I was going to put on my Sam Harris hat, right, because this is one of his arguments for saying that you can make objective statements about morality, right? That you can make objective, and this is what I understand Sam says, because we're on a first name basis, Sam Harris. Is that free societies, more liberal societies, actually make or create the environment for happier people, right? You have more freedom of expression. You have more agency in your life because you feel like you're in control of the political situation, right? That there is a positive feedback loop between rule of law, happiness, and he would also say that lower religiosity too, because we know that there is a strong correlation between societies with strong social safety nets and lack of religiosity. And that was a lot of words I just threw out there too.
Well, yeah. It's pretty much the premise behind Build Back Better. If you create a bit of a social net, which a lot of the money was allocated to climate change, which rightfully so, we need to start doing that. But a lot of it was also allocated to getting rid of everyday expenses, especially for parents, and that frees them up economically to live a happier life. That's like man. I hate Facebook sometimes. I don't know if you guys hear that shit, but leave me alone.
I can't hear a lot of things. Right?
But yeah, it's that's kind of like the premise behind what Build Back Better was supposed to be. Is you free up individual expense. Therefore you free people economically, and giving them more freedom, giving them more happiness. So
I'm looking at
it's kind of like a philosophy
so we're not. To be fair, then we're not really gauging. We're tying happiness to it. What we're really measuring, what we're really gauging, is
economic freedom.
I was about to say financial, economic freedom, or at least the ability to do that if you so desire.
Right, because when you look at social science research, they'll say that, well, how are we going to operationally define a topic? Like when Richard Dawkins writes in The Selfish Gene, he talks about altruism. And he says, well, when we talk about something as broad as altruism, we have to operationally define it. And the way that he did it is that any act that an organism does for another organism that somewhat lessens that creature's chance of survival over the long term, right? So that's an example of being able to take something complex, a complex behavior like altruism, and operationally defining it so you can measure it. So it's a measurable thing. I just want to go to worldpopulationreview.com, and there is some metrics that they use to measure happiness. Like social support, healthy life expectancy, freedom to make your own life choices, perceptions of internal and external corruption. And there's a very nice map on this site, worldpopulationreview.com, where you can see that basically non-liberal democracies, authoritarian states, do trend to be making less happy people.
Imagine that.
There is a trend there. And it's no surprise that the world's, I think, happiest countries are basically the Nordic ones: Finland, Denmark, Iceland, Western European countries that have broken the back of predatory capitalism and have a strong social safety net.
I wasn't saying oh my god to you. I was saying oh my god to Facebook. Like stop it. Like just stop it, Facebook. I forgot what I was going to say because Facebook totally distracted me. I'll remember it. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I think, and I hope I explained. I hope I explained it well. I hope I explained it well, or at least intelligently.
Yeah, no. That all that was helpful. It's just to me, it's a matter of in this conversation, being somebody that doesn't dig into this all the time. It's getting definitions, getting terms, just like we would in a debate.
Yeah. The first thing you got to do is clarify your terms, right?
Exactly. Politics is fascinating us. Really, whatever spectrum that you land on, and what's truly fascinating is finding someone on the right in America that actually will converse or debate politics with you in good faith. That is almost an impossible thing to find, but you can find plenty of right-wing people outside of America that will do so.
Yeah.
I do remember my point, like where America had always lost itself. I mean, in discounting slavery and genocide and all of that we things that we know about.
Brother.
Yeah,
That's
but I'm talking when we adopted this quote unquote theory of democracy, right? We instilled that in our politics, supposedly, if you take out all of those things that I just mentioned. We instilled democracy in our politics, but we never instilled it into our workplace. And that's the problem. The place where we as adults spend most of our adult lives, we're not free. We're under a dictatorship. And that's the problem in America. And politically, that's where the left comes in. Because the true left should be for a workers' first platform. So, we should be for democracy in the workplace. And unfortunately, what the left represents is more of the corporate model of that. And that just coincides with the right in this country. So this country has a really, really tough problem, especially when you consider like the constituencies, the bases of those two political parties hate each other, even though the politicians are pretty much on the same side.
All right, so if I can ask there, because this part gets interesting to me. So when you say that the current climate as far as the workforce would be, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm putting together breakfast while I'm chatting, but Ray, you just said that it would be equivalent to or compared it to God damn it,
dictatorship.
Dictatorship. Thank you.
Yep.
So how is that? Like, explain that to me.
We don't have freedom. We don't have our freedom of speech in the workplace. You can be fired for speaking your mind. You have to dress a certain way. Oftentimes, you have to be there at a certain time. You have to leave at a certain time, and you have to do your job as given to you by the dictator. There's really very little room to be incentive in the American workforce, depending upon the job. I'm talking overall, all around. There are exceptions to every rule, and that's what we talk about when we talk about democratizing the workplace. Is each individual has individual merit and should be able to really be active within the workforce and see the benefits of that as well. Because right now the benefits go all, to the top and kind of trickle down to crumbs when you get to the bottom.
So are you suggesting that no matter where in any of us, like on screen right now, no matter where we work, we should be able to say whatever we want to say, whenever we want to say it?
Well, no, you're gonna have a democracy in the workplace. So, as a democratic workplace, you would set the rules for yourselves. You would all have a say upon it, right? It's not just this enforced thing that you walk into, and you're told by the corporate masters to do what they tell you to do and do nothing else. If you really want to talk about incentivizing a workforce, you incentivize them by giving them economic freedom, giving them their equal slice of that pie based upon their work effort, but B, by giving them input, giving them something to want to be a part of in that company instead of just another body on the floor.
I think Oz should try to street epistemology, maybe, because I think I have some solid points here, Oz. That's what I think. I have words and numbers.
I think Oz likes to argue, and
I think I've
never really heard him, talk politics. So I think he's genuinely interested as well.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
That's what I am.
Yeah. Well, and I'll go out on a limb, and this will we'll stir the hornet's nest here, but I lean most things I lean left. Like I lean left, but when it comes to business workforce, I do lean towards capitalism, because I know for me, if it wasn't for the competition breeds results, and if I outwork you, that's we're both on the same starting point, but if I out hustle you and I outwork you, then I'm gonna get to this point, and it's up to you to either keep up with me, go ahead of me, stay behind me, but like that's up to you.
So allow me to ask you some simple softball questions, and these are pretty straightforward. When we talk about capitalism, the type of capitalism that you're talking about, you don't support the type, and I'm just guessing that you don't support the type of capitalism where 2/3 of all bankruptcies occur because of medical bills.
Oh, no.
Okay, let me continue. So you don't support, let's see, what is it? Purdue Pharma being able to lie and cheat to the public about opioids and creating an opioid, right?
No.
So in that way, just by those two statements, brother, you're saying that you are against American-style predatory capitalism that is in this country right now.
Yeah, I support the competition. Like I believe that there should be competition. It should be competitive, and I'm not for the. It's funny. A few times on our Discord, I've got into it with one gentleman on there 2 or 3 times now. That the thought of so let's say I go start a business, and I put all the capital down to start the business. To me the thought of, well, I'm putting all the risk up front. I'm investing all the risk. The thought that someone else would get an equal share that I get as the risk investor.
No, that's not the idea at all. You'd still get your percentage of the pie. And so if small business was the model still in America, like it was at one point when it thrived, I can't agree, like, because your personal experiences probably benefited you a lot. The owners of my business where I manage, they started off doing what I've always done, and then they worked it, they hustled it, and they got to where they're getting. My problem isn't that. The problem is that corporate America has been monopolized, and it has been for a very long time. It started right after World War II when we got rid of everything to do with the New Deal. What we have is this oligarchy of people of great power and means creating these industries, buying off all of these industries, and it's really a very few people that prosper from the biggest cut of the pie, and that's the huge problem. That's why you see wage disparity. That's why you see class and wealth inequality, and it's been a problem since the country was founded.
I just want to point out that when we talk about capitalism versus like the capitalism of Germany, of Norway, of France, those are they have a lot of socialism in their systems. It's a mixed system. I don't think there are any economic systems that are pure, but they are far more socialistic. I mean, people still own businesses. People can still be rich. It's just the fact that no one is destitute, or very few people are destitute.
The reason I work for the people I work for is because they're hardworking, good people, and they haven't sold their souls. But I also worked for the automotive industry where I started on a line. I did what they told me. I went to break when they told me to. I couldn't. I took a shit when they told me to. And I hustled my way up to become one of the best helium operators in the company. And that's when I had my first foot diagnosis, and eventually my foot took me out of there because I couldn't work 12 to 16-hour days anymore. And it was, I mean, there's no way you can really leave your workday without realizing that I just spent 12 to 16 hours as a slave. There just really was no way around it. Now, I got a great paycheck. I was making more money at that time than I've ever made in my life, and more than most people I know. But you never walked out of that job thinking, hey, I was able to be myself and really contribute to this company. I followed the model they gave me. I did what they told me to do. I just did it better than everybody else. That's
the thing
all.
is, it's also difficult to be to affect politics, to understand what's going on around you if you're always working. When you're always working, you work in
Oh
a
yeah,
lot.
and I couldn't be a
It's
dad to my
difficult
kid either.
to exercise agency in the political system, or even in your life, in your social life. You see people who basically have to say, I cannot be involved with my family because I have to work this much.
Well, that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons that I've always worked for myself,
Okay.
and I knew the kids with what it cost to get into homes and such. I think it was the best investment I made ever by investing into my kids and allowing us to be where we are.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for what I do on YouTube, for what I do on Facebook and all the, blogging, I mean, in effect, I work for myself and I turn out to be an asshole boss.
Yeah, see, I'm not a straight socialist. I don't think that we should completely socialize the workforce. I do think that we should incorporate what works in capitalism and what works in socialism and make a transition, because I think that there is a lot of opportunity in this country if we allow there to be opportunity again.
Yeah.
People that run small businesses, the argument really isn't against them because, you're working the system and you're cutting out a life for yourself. But at the same time, there's like 90 people on this world that owns almost everything. And there's a lot of people that are starving in the streets. And that's what we have to balance out.
And I just want to point out that the way we get to a less religious society is by creating a social safety net. It is just I'm going to throw out some bold assertions. It is a truism that if we want to make a less religious society, we create a better social safety net. We take more predatory capitalism out of capitalism. We put more socialism, more elements of socialism into the system, and we will see less religious society. I will also say that one of the biggest moves that we've had towards a less religious society is Obamacare. The fact that
it was a good step.
That was a step forward in the secularization of the United States of America. When you consider the more safe people feel, the less religious they are. Obamacare, probably within my lifetime, that was the biggest move forward.
Prior to Obamacare, for me to get any health insurance was a mint because pre-existing conditions,
People don't know. People don't know how bad it was, trying to find your own health insurance back in the day.
Mine, I can't remember. It was outrageous. And and it didn't pay for shit. Maybe if I got cancer, it might've been beneficial, but for, broken bones and torn ligaments and shit, it didn't do fuck for me.
Healthcare is a travesty in this country. I was just watching a report somewhere or another. I can't remember where. Watching a lot of news this morning, and there's this program that these hospitals are using. Kind of to combat the insurance companies, right? Because the insurance companies, it's a constant battle between the doctors on the ground and the insurance companies that are paying them. So they have to overcharge everything. And there's this program that overcharges shit by 500 to 675%. You're talking about sutras, something that should cost like, I don't know, $60. They're charging you $600 and something for it. It's like something, it's insane. And they have to do that just to get what they actually need from the insurance company. So that's the travesty of America.
The kids just had the new baby, and Phoenix has got great insurance. Nick's a union electrician. By the way, he passed his journeyman's test last week.
I saw that, dude. Congratulations on that.
He finished 85%. He's got a job offer to start after the first of the year. I think it's like $36 an hour, company truck. All the good shit. So yeah, I'm so proud of him, dude.
Well, and Oh, sorry, I don't
Go
mean. Actually, continue, John, because I was coming in as a downer because I just thought of oh man, we lost Build Back Better. It sucks.
Oh yeah, Jim. Yeah. Well, yeah, we lost.
We were going to address some of the things when it came to healthcare and Build Back Better. That was there was a lot about. I didn't like the fact that Manchin whittled it down to 1.75 trillion when we were actually going to do some really good for this country and fix the supply chain and end that inflation. Biden's got to come on board and open up the pipelines again until we have a viable green replacement so he can bring the gas prices down. But we were going to fix some of the Medicare issues. We were going to expand it a lot. And that was going to be another step like Obamacare towards a socialized medical system. And it got shot down by one dude who is a coal baron and a very rich fucking person.
You watch. He's going to run for governor of West Virginia. I predicted 2024 he'll run and he will win.
He's got a pretty sweet position right now as senator. And he has an abnormal amount of power,
I don't understand how. Well, I do understand.
This is consistent. Actually, Joe Manchin's behavior is consistent for oligarchs in societies. Is that it doesn't matter which country you're talking about in which time period. There are certain sections of the population who just care about lining their own pockets. Mm. And if the rest of the society bottoms out, they will still be doing well.
Yeah, and I shouldn't say one man. One man stopped us from doing it. But the entire Republican Party would not vote for this bill. And Bernie Sanders yesterday had the winning message for Democrats going into the midterms. Why are Republicans refusing to help you? That's got to be the message, because it wasn't just Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin just didn't do what we needed him to do as a party. It was Joe Manchin and the entire Republican Party that wouldn't vote for it.
And here's the thing about the cardinal sin, the secular sin of the United States of America, is that it's race. The reason why we don't have class consciousness like Western Europeans do, like other countries do, it's because of race. We more cut along. You just got to see how about how the Trumpists are basically white fascists, and that the Democratic Party is, for all intents and purposes, a party of black and brown skinned people, along with white people who understand what's going. I mean, broad paintbrushes here, brush strokes here, but who understand the danger to some extent.
Yeah, well, I totally agree. Somebody, who else was stepping in? Go ahead.
I was just going to say the way they've carved Texas up with their gerrymandering. I mean, it brought a federal lawsuit against them.
Yeah.
Because oh my God, looks like a fucking jigsaw puzzle the way they've got it drawn up.
Yeah. And that's the rule. Once again, this is the rule more than the exception. There are a few states that do have bipartisan groups, politicians who aren't actively in office. Because think about how crazy this is. You have politicians in office determining congressional districts. That is just crazy. Just hearing it in your ear should be like, this sounds like a shitty way of doing that, and it is.
Yeah, it always has been. Our system is so fundamentally flawed from the get because it's kind of archaic. You should be updating these things as you go along, but we are experiencing just this complete push to the right of the political party, the GOP, and it's very scary that you can gerrymander your way into winning these offices and playing pretty much off of like the area. Like you could design a district that's pretty much all QAnon people and get just the most insane person ever in now. Like but that's what kind of what we're fighting, and people don't like the terminology, but that, like I said in my stream yesterday, at the very least, you call the GOP an autocracy at this point, but they are leaning heavily authoritarian, and they are just trying to seize power. And when that happens, and you have reports of the military more than willing to do a coup, like when you learn that like Trump was actually considering using a military coup, we live in dangerous times, and I don't know, I think that the ability for them to kind of set their own districts and pretty much guarantee themselves victory has always been an issue and has led us to where we're fucking at right now.
All right,
Well,
here's my suggestion: anarchy. Fuck it.
Anarchy!
The thing is about anarchy is that it typically boils down to shit too.
Unfortunately, the solution has always been revolution, and that's the last thing I want to see. I don't want to see revolution. I don't want to see civil war. I would still like to work it out politically. I just think, like, by all the reporting that we get, like, it's not looking good on that front anymore.
You look at what happened during in the United
By the way, I
States.
was killed.
Oh yeah, of course.
Without.
You look at what happened during the run up towards the Civil War, right, during the 1840s, the 1850s, and it was the Southerners who were hot. It was the Confederate States that were hot and that were really pushing the envelope because they felt that they were going to lose. The North was an industrial power. There were a lot more people in the North, and that the South felt that over the long term, they were just losing more and more pull in the country. So why not start their own country? There is a similar dynamic here in the United States of America in 2020, 2021 going forward, is that, the people have felt like they've been in power in the racially white people. People who are in the Republican Party feel like they are losing power, and they are. You just got to look at the demographics, and this is their throw of the dice. This is the throw of the dice to see if they can win it all, and there's a good chance that they can do it, because once again, most dictatorships, most authoritarian states do not have the widespread support of the people. Most authoritarian states, when they get into power, don't have over 50% of the population supporting them. They are supported by a very powerful, vocal, well-funded minority.
Well, when Rachel was saying Trump, I think if Trump could have got the military behind him, they would have fucking went for a military coup,
Oh, sure. I mean.
Well, no, the reason he didn't, I think he had the military behind him, and I think that's the current fear, is that he still has a good chunk of the military behind him. That's what people are really terrified of. But I think he had the military behind him, but every single one of his staffers told him they would resign if he did that, and he decided not to do that. And we still, people still speculate that he regrets it to this fucking day.
There were talks, as we were heading towards the end of his presidency, I had guessed that there was conversations amongst the military about, amongst the generals, about what to do in case. And we saw this kind of play out, right, in the last couple of months, is that there were conversations about what to do in case things go sideways.
Well, and General Milley stirred up a lot of shit in the military. General Milley came out a couple times really very progressive in his speech after Trump left and Biden was president. And a lot of people in the military didn't like that. And so people are afraid of what's going on in the military right now. And it just isn't getting talked about a lot.
The thing is, this is a symptom of the disease. The fact that the military has to be saying things like, oh, by the way, we're not going to be politicized, because that just shows you that there is an effort that they are going to be politicized. And the fact that one of the few institutions that everyday people trust is the military, that's also a fucking problem. Because if people lose faith in the Supreme Court, people lose faith in Congress, people lose faith in the President of the United States, and what's the only societal institution that they have faith in? The military? Well, it just seems like that's a recipe for disaster.
Absolutely.
Yep. Andy, my phone's getting ready to die, so I'm going to jump off. But one thing I did want to tell you, because I know you're the comedy guy. Next week, I'm actually getting ready to start at a brand new comedy club here in Fort Wayne. I'm going to be the DJ, mainly the DJ, but every once in a while I'll fill in bartend if they need it. But I'll be DJing. And the first big act they have when they open, I think it's on the 30th that we're opening, is Jay Farrell. Does all the impersonations and everything. So, yeah, looking forward to that.
Fantastic, dude.
Well, good luck on that, Oz.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, sounds like good times, brother.
Absolutely. But yeah, I'm gonna jump on here before my phone dies. But thanks for the conversation, and I'll holler at y'all later.
It was good
Okay,
talking
take
to you,
care,
Oz.
man.
Yep, you guys too.
Good day.
See, I like Oz. Oz is brutally honest like me, man. One time, Pasta Mike pitched forth a conspiracy theory that you've never seen me and Oz in a room together. Well, there you go, Pasta Mike. Although we have been quite a few rooms together.
Yeah, right. Well, it would be interesting because who would be the good one and who would be the evil one? I mean, I don't know. Would you be the evil one? No.
Yeah, I think we could take turns swapping off being good cop, bad cop, just randomly whenever we chose. we could both be bad cop at the same time. It's awesome. We did it for the preacher with the preacher for several hours one evening. It was fun.
Cryptomaria points out, and I'm sorry I haven't been paying attention to the chat because when you've seen
Been a good
me
convo.
you've seen me get really focused on whatever's going on, and I just lose sight of the chat, and I'm sorry. But you're right, Cryptomaria. Didn't one general send a message to one China about, if in case we were going to do anything crazy, there would be some kind of conversation about it with the Chinese government. Yeah, there was a conversation like that.
The best way to overthrow a government is to get the people against each other. And since the last 4 years, all the disinformation from everything from election results to coronavirus has been thrown at us. Russian bots.
Yeah, it's
bots.
the right time for it if it's ever going to happen. That's for sure. And it's a bad time to be an anti-gun leftist. Like if shit hits the fan, you might want to have some weaponry around. And I've always been consistent with my stance. I don't even own a baseball bat. So.
Yeah.
I am pro-gun leftist, and I'm pro-gun control leftist too.
Yeah. There's a lot of people like you, John Hudson. There's a lot of, especially people who are leftist. They're like, yeah, we're not going to disarm. That would just not make sense.
No.
Oh yeah, Marx tells you not to disarm. That's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, especially where we live.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. You live in a red hot place.
I'm starting to change my stance. If everybody knows I'm a felon, I can't legally own a gun. I think there's no universal background check, so I could probably get a gun legally in Michigan and nobody ever know. But I am a person of ethics. But I ain't gonna lie. If shit shit hits the fan, I'm gonna go get me a gun. You ain't coming up into my house killing no liberals.
I still live close enough to the border. I think that I could make.
Oh yeah, I'd run to Canada probably. I don't know, but then again though, the argument is, if shit hits the fan, should you run or should you stay and fight? I definitely send my kid without a doubt.
Well, there's this. I don't know if I've only seen one season of The Handmaid's Tale, right? And this kind of dystopian world where Christian fascists are in charge, and they make women basically little, vectors for breeding for all intents and purposes. And they're like these flashbacks of what life was like before the fascists took over. And I'm like, yeah, I would have left before then, I think.
Well, and definitely, and that's the thing. Once they take over, then they have ultimate power. I mean, if you do look at what happened in Germany, I saw this fascinating interview with somebody because I've been researching World War II again, and they were like, in Germany, you lived in Nazi zones, right? Like, so everybody was Nazi friendly. You didn't see what was happening to the people that weren't Nazi friendly, because those people were just being killed by the drones, so, but you didn't know that because you lived in this little utopian town where everybody thought like you did, believed what you did, and there was no dissent whatsoever. And that's how fascism, breeds.
Well, I watched a program on this weekend. It was on America during World War II. And how many Nazis there was in the Americas. Charles Lindbergh.
Lindbergh, yeah.
Oh, fuck. That's part of history I never heard of.
Oh, yeah, dude. Yeah,
they kind of whitewashed it. There was Nazis. There was socialists were everywhere.
And he was... The thing about Lindbergh, he was probably the fucking biggest hero this country had at the time,
That's a good point. John.
So people listen to Charles Lindbergh, you know.
Well, it's once again, it's important to point out Nazis are fucking stupid. I mean, we built them up to these forgive me the pun, the Ubermen, because they were so difficult to beat, kind of, sort of. But when you look about what happened before World War One, they were the reason why before World War Two is that they had to fight because they had driven their economy into the ditch. They had to grab other countries. Because
I used to, and that is the narrative. Hitler was some military genius, and I thought that, and I argued that against Dr. Misha Griffith, and she just proved me utterly wrong. I mean, you're talking about a guy that was trying to pretty much take over Europe on 5 or 6 different fronts, stretched his military thin to the point where he couldn't really even defend his positions anymore. It was like, whoa, wait a minute.
And to be honest, the reason why he had to do that is because he had fucked the economy so much. He had just fucked it into the ground. And he's like, so I have to now take over Austria because we're out of gold reserves, or we're just like, we're out of cash. We have no oil. Hitler didn't want to do international trade because he felt he would make non-Aryan countries stronger. And when you don't do foreign trade, and if you don't have any oil and you don't have any food, you have a country without fucking food and oil. And that's a fucking problem. So what are your options? You have to invade. You have to do these things.
No,
that was part of their issue was Germany couldn't get the oil.
Yeah, they couldn't. They started the war without a lot of oil either.
There was a deal made with Mexico,
Venezuela too.
Pardon me.
The Nazis also had oil coming in from Venezuela before the conflict started.
Yeah, well, some American oil man made a deal with Mexico to ship oil to Germany.
Sure.
And with the blockade and stuff, they wouldn't allow them ships in, and I can't remember the program.
Economically, the Germans had no choice but to wage war. The horrific thing that they did was the genocide. That's the choice that practically condemns them, and the fact that they continued their war beyond the parameters of what they set out to achieve. I think that had they stopped, they probably would have won at least another treaties that's going to set up Germany better economically than they had after World War One. But I've been reading a lot of Dr. Richard Wolff, really delving deep into socialism, the political philosophies of socialism. I've been reading his books, been watching his debates, his lectures, and he makes an excellent point. Like, it was World War II that ruined socialism here in America, because before World War II, socialists were everywhere. We were in government. We were in every job. We were in school systems, and we were responsible for that New Deal that brought workers' rights to America. But after World War II, they were able to demonize socialists, completely whitewash us out of the history of America. And we have seen the corporatization of America ever since. If you look at the writings of Marx, that would be that bourgeois class just running rampant with no opposition since the end of World War II. Like, Marx was, it reads like he was a damn prophet. I'm reading it again. It hits differently now, 20 years later, than when I was in school reading it.
Well, people bitch about Trump, but I don't think he was fucking half as evil as Ronald Reagan and what the fucking bullshit he done.
Well, Ronald Reagan, he created the infrastructure for fascism and theocracy. That's what he did.
Well, deregulating everything that they did, expanding the war on drugs to where, and it's allowed the corporations to have the power that they have today.
It also
had power prior, but it isn't as great as it is today.
What the Reagan tax cuts did was that it warped the political system by flooding the oligarchs, by flooding by flooding rich people with money. what happened is that before the Reagan tax cuts, and I've said it before, and I'll just say it again, is the fact that before the Reagan tax cuts, companies did not have the incentive to pay their CEOs 300 times, 200 times the amount that they pay the everyday workers. Why? Because they would just get taxed. Corporations would get taxed. And so they said, or the CEO would have a lot of that money just taxed, right? When you have an upper rate of like 85% or 90%.
At about 70% is what they was
Right.
taxing them prior.
So once you have the tax rates down to like in the 30s that Reagan did, suddenly it's like, well, we can pay our CEOs hundreds of millions of dollars because they will keep that money. It won't be taxed away. So when you have all the solidification of money at the top, people at the top are going to use that money to affect the politics. So they keep that coming. So they keep that money coming and get more money too.
Well, and Republicans loved Reagan because he wasn't cognitively there. He wasn't cognitively there in his first term, and definitely not in his second term because he had Alzheimer's. Like it was the people around him that were running the government and crashing the economy to the freaking ground. They still idolize him to this day because of it. And the difference is Donald Trump, he's a lot more cognitive. He's just a narcissist. He's not going to give any control to anybody else. So he kind of reshaped the GOP in a way that Reagan never could. He brought that autocrat, that authoritarianism to it, and that's the current issues we face. I'm not so much worried about Donald Trump. I'm worried about DeSantis, or Tucker Carlson. Like Tucker Carlson scares the hell out of me.
This sounds mundane and trite, but
if he runs again, I'll be scared of him. I don't think he's going to run again.
See, you want to put some money on this?
No, I won't put money on it because I just don't know. But I think he wants to run it from the shadows.
I'll even give you odds. I'll give you odds, Rage. I'll give you odds. How's that? You want to put 50 and I'll put 50. Yeah, you put 50 and I'll give you 3 to 1.
You can't bet against his like absolute narcissism, but man, I don't know. I think that for one, like how healthy is he? So
he would be on life support. If we still had iron lungs, he would be in an iron lung going out there talking about bitch Biden or something similar to that, right?
All right. So if it is Trump, can Biden run against Trump?
Not effective. Biden can't. Agree. The only reason why Biden won is because of Donald J. Trump.
I agree wholeheartedly.
He lost that election. He fucked up COVID so much that even Joe Biden looked reasonable. Fareed Zakaria, who I'm a big fan of, who does a show on CNN 10 to 11 on Sundays, he's like, why is Joe Biden so unpopular? And the quick reason is because Joe Biden cannot rock the mic. He does not. He has never inspired.
Joe Biden was never popular.
He's not a leader.
He was never
popular.
You look at his 2 presidential runs, and that guy cannot bring the heat at all. And if you can't make people passionate about what you're talking about, running for president, that's tough. That's tough.
I know you probably we got to end, but the only person that has come to Battle Creek for our Kellogg strike is Bernie Sanders, the only one. Nobody else has come here to help these workers negotiate a better deal. Now, they're going to be voting, I think maybe today or tomorrow, on the new deal. So we'll see if they go back to work. But they've been trying to replace those workers here. So. I mean, it just really strikes out to me, because I'm not an ageist, and Bernie is clearly Bernie Sanders. And Bernie's still really the only one that's doing it. There's plenty of things I disagree with Bernie on, but he's the only one that's really just still doing it consistent. And if he shows that, I'm like, run again in 2024. I thought he would be done because I just thought he'd be too old, but he is not showing any cognitive decline at all.
There is virtue in running just for the sake of moving the conversation to the left.
Mm.
So even if Bernie Sanders will never become president, he will push the conversation to the left.
I mean, his old ass is still doing it, man. I give him props because the only one, like Elizabeth Warren, haven't seen AOC, haven't seen, like not even our Michigan one. What's her name? The Presley woman.
No, yeah, yeah.
Haven't seen her. Haven't seen her. You know, like, where are you guys? Come on.
Well, it's just the media. The media throws out their fucking the pretty kids, you know, to sell their story, you know, and that's if you're not controversial, if it's
Dude,
it's
these
not the
guys
best
have been
man
on the
wins or
street.
the best person wins anymore. It's
We have our downtown Kellogg's factory, and they're outside of that every day in the snow. Like it got a little warm there, so they got a little reprieve. But then we have another factory as I'm going into work, and there's only one way into it, right? And they are blocking that freaking road every single day, and it's just like, you know, they fought for so long. You think that at least some of these people that placate to workers would have shown up, but Bernie, you know, he continues just to keep my vote.
Yeah. All right. On that note, we're gonna have to close up shop. Same thing tomorrow, everyone. Thank you, chat. Thank you, panelists. We'll see you tomorrow.
Oh yeah, thank you, man.
Shamala, Hamala.